Hey guys, and welcome back for another tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this super cute lunch tote. I'll be using a waterproof and insulating material for this particular design, but this is also great in other fabrics and can be used to store toys, makeup, travel essentials, and so much more. As with all my tutorials, the measurements will be over at the blog post, which will be linked below, as well as the information icon in the top right hand corner of this video. And I will also have a materials list and links for any products and tools I use. And of course, if you're not already, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell to be alerted of new and future tutorials, and smash that like button, as the kids like to say. Okay, so let's get started. So one of my viewers was telling me about a waterproof canvas material, and I've used canvas in the past, but I've never heard of the waterproof, so I had to grab some. So I could only get this blue because there was a big sale and they were totally sold out. But basically, waterproof canvas is sort of like a backpack material, a lot nicer, but also has like a plasticky layer on the inner because it is waterproof. So I decided that I would make this bag out of it. I'm also using that shower curtain that we used in the last tutorial, the last cooler tutorial, and then the Insulbright again. And then I'm going to be using a zipper that's about 4 inches longer, and then I made a strap, and the strap is, I made 2 straps, they're 30 inches long, and then I'll have a pocket piece also. And then for the actual bag frame, I grabbed some frames over at emmaline.com. So if you've never heard of that shop before, I decided to go check it out. They are a Canadian company, and this is the frame that I chose. They have a few different variations. This is the exact specific one that I chose. I will have that also linked over at the blog post. So the first thing we're going to do is take one of the outer fabric pieces, and if you're using the waterproof canvas, you'll know that the wrong side is the part that feels kind of rubbery. We'll take our zipper and we'll center that. So we want to have a zipper that's about 2 inches longer on both sides at least, and then we will place it with the zipper pulled down towards the right side of the fabric. Sandwich that with your lining piece, which I'm using the shower curtain. And then I'll put my Insulbright on top. So if you're just making a regular bag, like you're gonna make it out of regular canvas and you're not using the insulated fabric like I'm using, then of course just omit that part, but all the steps are the same. You just remove your insulating fabric. So I'm just clipping the top, and when we get to the ends on both sides of the zipper, we are actually going to move the zipper out of the way when we are sewing. So I'm just going to show you exactly what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take the zipper and I'm going to pull it down towards the fabric, and we'll do that on both sides, but we're still going to sew all the way across. So you'll see that when I go to actually sew. So because I'm doing that, I'm actually going to start sewing from the center and go down to the one side, and then I'll flip it around and then go from the center back to the other side, just so that I can make sure that I pull the zipper out of the way properly. So like I said, I'm just going to do that, stop about one inch away, and then just pull the zipper down and try to keep that fabric nice and straight, and then just keep sewing right across. So next we're just going to take it out of the machine, and this is how it should be looking. We're not going to do any top stitches yet. We're going to leave that all till the last. So this is how it should be, kind of peeking out right on both sides. So now we'll attach the rest of the fabric to the other side of our zipper. So again, the zipper pull is towards the right side of your fabric, and then we will place the lining on the other side, and then I'm going to place my Insulbright right there. Because there's so many layers, you really want to clip it as best as you can. If you're using waterproof fabric, then you don't want to use pins because you don't really want to add more perforations if you don't have to. So I'm just going to be using my clips. And so just like we did before, we'll sew from the center down to the one side of the zipper, stop, and then pull our zipper out of the way. and continue sewing. So if you are going to make this bag out of other types of material, I would definitely stick with fabrics that are nice and rigid, such as, you know, canvas, or using some heavyweight interfacing, just so that it can hold up to the weight of the frame. Okay, so from here we're going to work on the pocket piece. So this is a pocket piece. It's going to go in the front. We're just going to fold it in half, and then I did a top stitch at the top. I didn't film that part, but I'm just going to do a quick top stitch right up there using a 3 to 3.5 stitch length. Now I'm just going to quickly do my straps. If you watched my videos before, I've made lots of straps in other videos. I will have a strapping video linked in the top right hand corner, so if you want a better look on how I make my strapping, you can check out that video, and there's a few different variations in there. And I'm going to make 2 of these straps, and they're about 30 inches long. I'm going to be putting the strapping going from the bottom, and then it's going to loop up and then all the way down to the bottom again, and then it's going to cover up that pocket on the one side. So I took my pocket piece and I just centered it, lining up the bottom with the bottom of the pocket, and then I just made sure that it was centered, so I used a ruler just to make sure it's perfect. And then I'm going to take my strapping and I will just lay that on top, so that about 1/2 inch of the pocket is covered by the strapping. And then I'll just pin that into place. Make sure that your strapping isn't twisted, which it is right now, but I do fix it. And when we sew this on, it's going to be a one-shot deal. It's going to secure your strapping to the bag as well as secure your pocket down. So I went ahead and did that on the opposite side, making sure that the strapping is all lined up on both sides. And I will sew it until it's about 2.5 inches from the zipper. So I'm not going to sew all the way up. And I'm just sewing right on the top stitch that I have on my strapping. So as you can see, I'm not going all the way up, just about 2.5 inches down from the zipper. And then I sewed across, and I'm going to go right back down. And I did that for all of it, and I just changed my camera angle quick just because you know, my camera was kind of getting knocked around from the project. So I hope you're enjoying the tutorial so far. If you are, I hope you give me a thumbs up, and if you're not already, subscribe to the channel. And also, if you're not already following me over on Instagram and Facebook, I would love it if you came over and joined the community. Those links are in the description box below as well. Okay, so next we are going to take the right sides of our outer pieces and the right sides of the lining, and we'll put those together. My Ensel Bright was sewn in with the lining, so that's going to stay towards the lining side, and we're just going to line up all 4 sides. For this type of bag, we're actually going to have those zippers hanging off the bag, so we're not going to sew over top of them. We're going to tuck those in. And you know how we left a little bit of space at the end? We're not going to be sewing on the zippers at all, so we're going to make sure that that stitch line doesn't even touch the zipper tape and stays before the zipper. So we're just going to slip that zipper in there, and of course don't forget to open up your zipper so that you can turn your bag once it's all sewn up. So you can open that zipper as much as you want and just shove it in there, and make sure you don't sew over it at all. And of course don't sew over your handles, because those could possibly shift over to the edge of the bag. So now we're just going to sew all the way around, but we're going to leave a 3 or 4 inch gap in the lining, but make sure that it is at least like 3 inches away from the corner. So I'm just going to do a 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around, as long as you're not hitting that zipper tape. And even though that waterproof canvas has a rubbery surface on the wrong side, I didn't have any problems going over it with my regular presser foot, so that was nice. So now I'm going to be boxing my corners. I'm going to box the corners so that the bottom of the bag opens up the exact width of my frames. So the side measurements of these frames are 2 inches, so the bag should open up to be about 4 inches. So I'm going to cut a 2 inch by 2 inch notch out of all 4 corners, and that will make sure that the bottom of the bag is 4 inches wide. About that. There is some seam allowances in there somewhere. And then you'll just snip off all 4 of those corners. And then we'll just open all 4 of those corners and we will line up the seams. So you're gonna pull it, make sure that the raw edges are all lined up and your seams are lined up. And you're just gonna sew over those with a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, and then you will have your boxed bottom. And this is why I mentioned that I wanted you to make that little opening in the lining at least 3 inches away from each corner so that when you go to do this step, you didn't have any difficulties. So I'm just doing that 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And we did that on all 4 corners. And then we can start to birth our bag, is what they say. And we'll do that through that hole we left in the lining. And because I used the shower curtain, it's a little bit, you know, just you need to be a little bit gentle. But as long as you do it carefully, bring a little bit of fabric through, then you shouldn't have any issues tearing your lining. And that's when everything went wrong. I got it back on, but such a pain when it happens. I don't even know why there's no stopper there. I got this zipper from the secondhand store, but I guess it might have been a used one. I'm not sure. So here's how it's looking. So if you wanted to just make this bag like this, you could just do a top stitch and call it a day. But if you have the adorable little frames that I'm going to use, then we are going to make the casing for that frame. So I'm just going to do a top stitch all the way around the top of the bag, making sure you don't sew over your zipper, and make sure you tuck in your lining so that it doesn't kind of bunch up at the top. And I can keep my regular presser foot on for this part. It's a pretty good distance away, so I don't have any issues with that. And then for the frame, I'm gonna sew a little more than a 1/2 inch away from the first seam. So you're basically just going to be creating the casing for that frame. Now, I don't know if this is the right or wrong way to do this, but from what I've seen, this seemed to be the easiest way to add the frame. So there is the casing. If you wanted to do it in a matching thread so that it was less visible, you can do that. But of course, for tutorial sakes, I'm using the white thread. So now I'm just going to get my stitch ripper and I'm going to pop the side seams, but I'm only going to do it in between those 2 horizontal rows of stitches. So those rows of stitches sort of, you know, stops this little hole from getting bigger. And you'll be able to just stick the frame in right through, but it's a little tricky. With these frames, they do have the little rubber knobby thing at the end, which is great, and it prevents your frame from, you know, trying to break down your fabric and then one day possibly poking out, such as, you know, underwire in a bra, because you know how many times that happens. So just because of those little rubber knobby things, they give you a hard time wanting to get in, but once you get in, then it's fine. It just slides right through. So you just got to make sure that you slide it right to the end, and then it should just fit right in. So that is the 1/2, and I'll be able to get the other frame in on the other side through the same hole. And for this part, I just chose to stick the frame in, and then I just entered that little knobby in last. So after that, now we can just start doing the finishing touches on our bag. So I'm just going to close up that hole we left in the lining by just tucking in those raw edges and just doing a top stitch right over top. And then we will do some zipper tabs, and I think that's pretty much it. I am not good at zipper tabs at all. We are also going to sew up that little hole that we put the frames in. So I'm just going to do a zigzag right over top. If you wanted to go and get your matching thread, do that. Or you could just do an invisible stitch by hand, whatever you want to do, just so that those little frames don't come poking out at a later date. And I'll just go ahead and finish doing the zipper tab. So I just grab some of the waterproof canvas, and I'm going to horribly sew on a tab on both sides. This is how I do it. I don't do it very often because, like I said, I'm not good at it. So if anyone has a really good tutorial on how to do zipper tabs, let me know, because maybe I just don't have the patience for it. That's probably it. But the waterproof canvas does iron very nicely, so that's nice. I thought maybe it would melt because it is kind of rubbery, but I didn't have any problems. So once you have both your tabs on, then you're done. Isn't it so cute? I love it so much. My sister actually has a lunch bag just like this with the frames and everything. So of course, when I found emmaline.com, I had to order some to try it out. So I just love how fun they are. So I'm definitely going to be working up some new projects to see what else I can make with these frames. So if you have any ideas, or if you make bags with these frames, I would love to see them. So come on over to Facebook and share with the community. And of course, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel and share with all your friends. Oh, and that pocket in the front does fit a cell phone. So that was the thinking of that. You know, obviously you don't want to have your phone inside your lunch bag, but it's nice to have a little place just to stick it when you're walking to lunch. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next tutorial. Bye guys.